All right, we're joined today by Ashley Collier, the district manager in the Charlotte service for the American Red Cross. We were talking about blood donation in the last segment. I got a few quick questions. These two kind of go together. This person says, if you have an autoimmune disease, can you donate blood? And then another question was, if you've been cancer-free for 5 years and it was lymphoma, can you donate blood? And I kind of know where you're going with this answer.
Absolutely, and those are great questions. It's very important, and we like to recommend folks call 1-800-RED-CROSS. You'll actually be able to call that number and speak to a real person that will be able to talk to you about your eligibility. With those questions you brought up, we want to make sure that we're giving you the best information so that when you come to a blood drive, you don't get there and find out you can't donate. So by calling 1-800-RED-CROSS, they'll be able to assist you to ensure that you're eligible to donate.
Yeah, you can talk to a human being, which is helpful. Okay, this person's asking, do you have to be a certain weight to donate blood?
Yes, you have to weigh at least 110 pounds to donate blood, and that's for your safety. Just because you're losing a volume of blood, that weight requirement ensures that you can have minimal issues and impacts from that. So 110 pounds is our minimum.
All right, now you can still text in questions about blood donation. Now we're going to be talking about like a Red Cross response to disasters. You can text in questions as well about that. So let's talk about that. How many disasters does the Red Cross support each year?
Wow, about 60,000, give or take, is the disasters that we respond to. A lot of times you'll see those are 60,000 that occur not only in the United States, but around the world, as the Red Cross is an international organization. So right now you'll find us assisting in Ukraine, Syria, Turkey, a variety of areas in which we're very familiar with kind of the world events that have occurred. But generally, that's the one other thing the Red Cross is most known for besides blood is disaster. So we're out there at least 60,000 times a year.
And when it comes to like locally, you know, Charlotte, Triad, that kind of thing, what kind of issue do you see the most?
House fires is one that we see a lot. Inclement weather, tornadoes is another one that we see a lot. As the South, as you know, we can have very violent summer storms that occur. So we find ourselves out there handling those on a great deal as those happen very quickly and have much more of an impact than a lot of people think. So those are probably our two main ones that we handle on a daily basis.
And you know, when we hear the house fires, we think there's got to be like, you know, clothing, and there's got to be food, there's got to be a place to stay, that kind of stuff. And people are generous and they want to give when something like that happens. What is the best way for folks to give, whether it's that big disaster like an earthquake or, you know, a disaster right here at home like a house fire?
Yeah, and we get this a lot. And a lot of people, they want that call to action. So they're like, oh, well, somebody lost their house in a fire, or their house was wiped out in a tornado. A lot of times, like, I've got things I can bring them, and we do appreciate those. The biggest impact that you can have in supporting folks that are going through that is actually a financial donation, because that financial donation for what you might be able to do with it, the Red Cross can do so much more because of the partnerships and the connections that we have, and those dollars then begin to be spent exactly where we need them to be spent in regards to helping us get folks back on their feet, getting them into a house, getting them clothing if all of theirs is gone. So financial donations are the best donations for the Red Cross, and the ones that can have the greatest impact.
Okay. And so should people, you know, very often we get like these text things or whatever when a disaster happens. Should people put the name of whatever the disaster is that they're giving to make sure that it's going to that disaster versus something else?
Yeah, I think it's always important to indicate what that's going to. It also helps us organizationally to have that. It's not required, but it is helpful information. And 90 cents of every dollar that is donated to the American Red Cross goes to benefit and support those individuals that have been impacted by a disaster. So we are very financially responsible with the donations that we get from the community and from the public. And we pride ourselves in ensuring that those dollars go to those individuals most in need.
Yeah, and that's something that all of us need to be thinking about when we do give to charities and stuff like that. When you see that 90% of each dollar goes to the actual services versus administration. I mean, administration has to happen, but when you see that more than almost double, you know, is going to the services, that's a big deal.
Absolutely. And just again, to clarify, a lot of the individuals that you see responding to disasters here in the United States or around the world, they're volunteers. They're individuals who volunteer for the Red Cross, specifically in our disaster services unit. And so those hard costs that you talked about, that 10 cents, that is what it takes to respond to those things. But those boots that you see on the ground, For the most part, those are volunteers. They may be Red Cross employees that work in a different department that are part of our disaster services, but they're also volunteers in your community that show up to help when something happens in their neighborhood.
All right. Well, thank you so much for your time and your expertise. You gave us kind of a really big picture of the two big things that we know the Red Cross is for. You can find a recap of today's Q&A posted in the 2 Wants to Know section in just a few moments.